Hi, welcome back. In today's tutorial, we're going to be watching paint dry, literally. I've seen a couple other creators do something similar to this on here, and I wanted to try my hand and see if I could pull it off. I used water-activated body paints for the majority of this. I did use one shade of graphic liner, but found the graphic liner was not the consistency I needed it to be for the texture that I wanted to make. So I'm starting off at the higher points of the face and laying down lighter colors, white, orange, yellow, and in the places where I would normally contour, I'm going to put blues, purples, green and red is kind of going to be an in-between color is what I decided on the fly. The goal of this look was just to use as many colors as I could, make it colorful, vibrant, use a variety of brush strokes and different size brushes to make different textures to make this look like a realistic painting if I were to become a painting myself. And because a lot of the planning and placement and colors was all done on the fly, you're going to see me go back and forth a lot to revamp, revise areas that I decide, oh, I don't like this, I want to change the color. Oh, I don't like this, we need more texture here. I'm also using lots of small brush strokes. So small, just kind of like pencil-like sketching strokes. I'm using a variety of brush sizes and I'm changing whether I have the brush saturated with a lot of wet paint or if I'm using the brush with more dry paint on it. That's going to give you a more subtle texture, rather as the wet paint will give you very clear, precise strokes. When I was painting the body, I tried to think similar to the face. Where would the shadows lay? Where would the highlights lay? And then let me fill in the colors in between to make the gradient from light to dark even. But at the same time, keep in mind that this is meant to be a painting, so there will be imperfections, there will be things that are not symmetrical, and that's something that I very much had to remind myself throughout this entire process. It was very much a trust the process kind of painting, because at the beginning when I only had a few colors laid, I was like, how am I really gonna pull this off? But as I went along throughout this process, I realized that when the paint is still wet, you can drag it different ways to add more texture. You can go back in with new paint and cover things up that you decide that you don't like, and you can always change something before you decide that you're really finished. I decided to add in these little hash marks with eyeliner at the end. Not sure if I would do that again, but I kind of like the texture that it gave. And of course you have to add paint to the hair to make the look cohesive. I'm just going to add some finishing touches, so I'm lining the waterline of my eyes, adding some mascara, filling in the lips, and then adding some last minute highlights to kind of make everything come to life. If you're going to do this look yourself, you could always add contacts if you really want to ramp up the look. I decided not to because I wanted this to be a painting of myself, so I decided to keep my eyes mine. But overall, I am so proud of how this turned out. This definitely challenged my skills as an artist and the trust that I have in myself to pull these kinds of things off. If you enjoyed this, make sure you stick around, and until then, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!